Hi there. Welcome to today's reflection from chapter 13 of the book Releasing Your Potential. We are journeying through all the chapters of the book by Dr. Myles Munroe, and I hope that you find today's reflections useful as well. Our topic for today from chapter 13 is understanding work, and it builds up on some key lessons we have picked from chapter 11, dedicated to understanding the priority of work in relation to potential, and also getting to understand how God uses the key of working to unveil or push out our full potential. And so we'll look at a few things that we can get from the chapter, which will primarily help us to define work as God Himself defines it, and then we'll see how we can also use work as a tool for releasing our potential. Okay, so the chapter begins with the key statement: working for fulfillment is better than working for money. The purpose of a job is work, not money. And I think this may sound a bit um, not so pleasant to many, especially knowing that money is very important to our survival. Money is very important to our survival. But then, one thing that is clear from the first two chapters we've considered on work, that is chapter 11 and 12, is that the whole idea of working is necessary for releasing the potential that we have. And therefore, if we begin to reorient ourselves towards the fact that being diligent, putting in effort, and ensuring that you give your all in whatever position you find yourself, whether it is with professional life or family life, in whatever area it concerns you, you will be able to give off your best and work hard towards results that will reflect your God-given abilities and also contribute to making your society, your institution, your family better. And so with that mindset, we'll then begin to appreciate why the chapter will begin with the statement that working for fulfillment is better than working for money, because it is not playing down on the role of money as a consequence of working. Remember, we've cited the Apostle Paul writing to the church in Thessalonica and others that they should work, the disciples, they should work with their own hands so that they don't become dependent on others for their feeding and survival. And so it is through making some money out of your working that you'll be able to cater for yourself. However, if you don't find fulfillment in what you are doing, the working that you are working, if you don't find fulfillment in it, you'll realize that you may struggle and you will not be able to bring out your best at the end of the day. So the purpose of a job is work, not money. The reason why you would be placed in a position within an institution as a manager, as a clerk, as a sweeper, as a cleaner, is for you to be able to carry out specific tasks that are assigned to the job role, not because of the money that will be paid you at the end of the day, at the end of the week, at the end of the month. That is the consequence, the result of your working. But the purpose of your being in that role is to work, not to receive a salary or an allowance. It is by your working that you merit the harvest of the work. So the purpose of working hard, the purpose of giving of your best is to ensure that at the end of the day, you will also find fulfillment in what you are doing. And the chapter helps us to see how when we go through the annals of history, the civilizations of Egypt, Greece, Rome, and Assyria, we realize that they were built on the backs of subjugated peoples. The United States was built on slavery. No matter how the workers are motivated, there must be work to achieve greatness. So we may not be happy with how the people were used in slavery to achieve certain results for many nations that are great and all. But at the end of the day, the role that working hard, pushing people to do the work, to carry out the tasks, to carry out the assignments, to do the things that are needed for the results is something that we cannot downplay, because being productive, being efficient, being able to come out with outputs that are relevant is connected to work. And if the individuals do not work their hearts out, at the end of the day, you will not get the needed results. And that is what takes me to an account in Nehemiah chapter 4. And you may be aware of how Nehemiah decided to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem that had been destroyed when he heard the news of how the walls had been broken and the whole town had been raided and all. He had a burden upon his heart to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. And so he took it upon himself to get the people together and then rebuild. And in Nehemiah chapter 4, the verse 1 through to 6, it says that when Sanballat heard that we were rebuilding the wall, he became angry and was greatly incensed. He ridiculed the Jews, and in the presence of his associates and the army of Samaria, he said, "What are those feeble Jews doing? Feeble Jews doing? Will they restore their wall? Would they offer sacrifices? Would they finish in a day? Can they bring the stones back to life from those heaps of rubble, burned as they are?" So he's describing the state of affairs, and he's taunting these people. Would they be able to do it? Tobiah the Ammonite, verse 3. Tobiah the Ammonite, who was at his side, said, "What they are building, even a fox climbing up on it will break down their wall of stones." 4. Hear us, our God, for we are despised. Turn their insults back on their heads. Give them over as plunder in a land of captivity. Do not cover up their guilt or blot out their sins from your sight, for they have thrown insults in the face of the builders. So this is a prayer that Nehemiah is raising up to God. And he's saying that these people that Sanballat and Tobias are describing as feeble, as people that are building a wall that even a fox will jump onto and it will break. These individuals are builders. He calls them builders. And he says that God should turn the insults that these people were hurling at him and the other builders. He should turn it against them. And the verse 6 is where my focus is. It says that, "So we rebuilt the wall till all of it reached half its height, for the people worked with all their heart." When people are doing something, they are playing a role in building their family, in building business, in working within an institution in various capacities, and they do it with all their heart. They find fulfillment in what they are doing, just like Nehemiah and the people that were rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem. The money received may not be enough. They may not even have any promise of receiving a wage for what they were doing, but they were doing it because it was on their heart to make sure that the rebels did not remain, that they rebuilt the city and the city walls. So the whole idea of finding fulfillment in what you are doing, the work you are doing, is very important. And for many nations, for many societies, many institutions, it is the cornerstone for great achievements. And the story of Moses is outlined here, highlighted on the essence of workers, individuals that work, irrespective of the fact that they are doing it because they are personally fulfilled or they are being forced to do it, as in the case of Pharaoh. So the story of Moses and Pharaoh, the Pharaoh of Egypt, illustrates this truth. Pharaoh wasn't threatened by the person of Moses or even by the God of the Israelites. He was threatened by the loss of a major workforce. So we understand how the people of Israel, while in captivity in Egypt as slaves, they were working, they were being made to do a lot of work, laboring on in various capacities. And when God wanted Israel to be let go through Moses as the leader, the Pharaoh withstood the whole attempt, because he knew that a major workforce was going to be taken away. So that's when Moses proposed a 3-day journey into the desert to offer sacrifices to God. The king of Egypt replied. So this is coming from Exodus chapter 5, verse 4 to 9. Moses and Aaron, why are you taking the people away from their labor? Get back to your work. Look, the people of the land are now numerous, and you are stopping them from working. That same day, Pharaoh gave this order to the slave drivers and foremen in charge of the people. You are no longer to supply the people with straw for making bricks. They are lazy. That is why they are crying out, let us go and sacrifice to our God. Make the work harder for the men so that they can keep working and pay no attention to lies. So this is a man that is filled with a lot of wickedness. And he's saying that I know the value of having these individuals working themselves out and how this is building my empire. I'll not let them leave, even if it is just for 3 days that they claim they are going to make sacrifices to their God. I am not letting them go. In fact, I will worsen the conditions under which they are working, so that by that worsening of the conditions, they will not want to pay attention to anybody, because they know that if they do, I will make it even worse. So if the people that form the core working base of any institution, every society, especially the young people, are not working, then there's a problem looming. There is the downfall of that nation, that institution looming. So it says that when people decide they are not going to work, the back of a nation is broken. Our countries are falling apart because our people are refusing to work and work well. So that's the key, to work and to work well. There are many people that will find themselves in positions of high interest, in positions that may not be as highly valued as others. But in any case, they refuse to do the work. They refuse to put in the effort. And many people are sleeping on the job, as we would say. Things go bad. Things go bad. Things go bad. We must change our attitude towards work. It says our only hope is to rediscover God's definition of work and the benefits he intends to bring to our lives through work. So we'll consider briefly some definition of work according to God's standard. And in that respect, we get to understand from the chapter that how we define work and how God defines work are different. Work is not the same as a job. Work releases potential whilst job provides a paycheck. So you are placed in a job role, you are given a job description, you are given your job roles, your responsibilities, and at the end of the day you are paid, whether you are paid a wage or a salary at the end of the month, whatever it is. If your focus is on the job, at the end of the day you are looking out for a paycheck. But if your focus is on the work that will release your potential, then you have a better understanding of God's definition of work, because work is what will release your potential, not the job. You can be in a job and not be diligent in working. While you may work at your job, work does not always result in a financial reward, because it is in the working, going the extra mile, it is in the applying the knowledge and skills and the talents that you have, irrespective of whether or not it is commensurate with the amount of money, financial reward you receive. It is in doing that that you actually will be working. So while you may work at your job, work as defined by God, who we have understood from the previous lessons, is himself the major example of working. He worked the world into being in 6 days before he rested on the seventh day. And all that he did, he said, they were very good. So it is in our working that we have a desire to contribute to the world's wealth and well-being by giving of ourselves. So it moves beyond efforts under the force of another person, and also avoids the I am not going to work because you can't make me work mentality. So it's not about being told what to do and being under pressure to do something. It is about you determining that in whatever role I have found myself, there are certain responsibilities I need to take. And because I want to release the best of myself, I will do the work and I'll do it well. Work is God's. So this is an important statement. So work is God's way of revealing your talents, abilities, and capabilities. It helps you to discover the satisfaction of accomplishment and the results of perseverance. Without work, you will never see the results of your potential. Without effort, you will never feel the satisfaction of accomplishment. And this is something we established in our previous lesson, that work is one of the ways that God helps you to be able to reveal your talents, your abilities, your capabilities, the skill sets that he has given you, the abilities that he has hidden in you. It is through work that God is able to unveil all of them. God had a plan. The earth was without form and it was void. And God said, and God said, and God said. And he went about separating stuff, putting things in shape, forming man out of the dust of the earth, doing all sorts of things to make sure that all the things that were hidden in the earth that was void and without form were able to come out. And when we go back to a scripture I read earlier from Nehemiah chapter 4, the verse 1 to 6, we get to see how the description of Sanballat and Tobias concerning the Jews that were building, that they were feeble, that they will not be able to finish the work, that they can't bring the stones back to life, stones that have been bent, down. They can't bring them back to life. But it is through the working with all their heart that these individuals that were considered to be feeble were able to bring out the results, the accomplishment, and the satisfaction of the accomplishment was seen because they worked with all their heart. And when we read the verse 16 of that Nehemiah chapter 4, it says that from that day on, half of my men did the work, while the other half were equipped with spears, shields, bows, and armor. The officers posted themselves behind all the people of Judah, 17, who were building the wall. Those who carried the materials did their work with one hand and held a weapon on the other. And each of the builders wore his sword at his side as he worked. But the man who sounded the trumpet stayed with me. 19. Then I said to the nobles, the officials, and the rest of the people, the work is extensive and spread out, and we are widely separated from each other along the wall. Whenever you hear the sound of the trumpet, join us there. Our God will fight for us. So you read on, and you, in that context of what was happening, you understand that the enemies, the people that were touting them, were against them. The enemies had arisen to fight them and stop them from rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem. But Nehemiah and the people he had put together to do the rebuilding, they were resolute. They understood the reason for what they were doing, and because of that, they persevered. It is work that helps you, as we see here, to discover the satisfaction of accomplishing whatever you want to do and the results thereof out of your perseverance. They did, things that they ordinarily wouldn't have put themselves under such conditions, but they had to, fighting with one hand, working with one hand, because they needed to get the work done, and they needed to also ensure that they put off the enemies. They had a strategy in place. It was not convenient, it was not comfortable, but they realized that it is by working their hearts out that they will be able to bring out the potential that is hidden, the Jerusalem walls that would be standing again, that the enemy thought will not be possible. It is through their working their heart out that they would be able to do that. And thankfully, they were able to do so. They were able to do so. They were able to do so. So the point number one under definition is that work is activated strength and energy. So if we are defining work in the context of God and his understanding that he gives us concerning work, it is that work number one is activated strength and energy. So these individuals, as we see in the rebuilding of the temple, the rebuilding of the walls of Jerusalem, they may have been feeble, they may have been old, there were young ones, there were children, there were old men, old women, everybody coming together to ensure that the work was done. And they did it because there was an activation of strength and energy in them by the charisma of Nehemiah and his diligence in ensuring that the burden upon his heart to rebuild the walls was carried out. And when Jesus was on the earth, he told his disciples in John chapter 5, the verse 17. John 5, the verse 17. Reading from John 5, verse 17. He says that, so let's start from 16. So because Jesus was doing these things on the Sabbath, the Jewish leaders began to persecute him. So he had done some healing on the Sabbath day, and he met this man at the pool, and he had been he couldn't walk. He was invalid, and Jesus told this man to get up, pick up his mat, and walk. And then the the Pharisees and all that, they stood up against him because he had done such on the Sabbath. And Jesus was responding. And in his defense, the verse 17, in his defense, Jesus said to them, my Father is always at his work to this very day, and I too, I am working. So my Father is always at work to this very day, and I too, I am working. And on another occasion, remember, he said that we must work the works of, I must work the works of him who sent me, because night is coming when no man can work. So Jesus worked while he was on the earth. He gave sight to the blind and hearing to the deaf. The scripture says everywhere he went, he was doing good. The mighty healer, he healed the lepers. When the cripples saw him, they started walking. Everywhere he went, my Lord was doing good. The song says. So he did a lot, including days that the Pharisees, the Sadducees will say that you have no right to work, to heal, to do something that requires the energy and the effort that you would put in. And Jesus is saying that my Father worked, continues to work, and I am also working. It is through the activation of strength and energy that we see work. And so you have a similar responsibility to release the strength and energy God gave you for the good of the world. You can accomplish this through work. The Greek word agon, which means to activate, is often translated work. So from agon comes our word energy. Thus, work is the activation of stored energy. If a car is parked, it is inoperative. But the minute you start the engine, the pistons begin working and the car has the power to move. If we have a lot that is stored in us, God has given us a lot of abilities, a lot of gifts, and we do not put it to use. If it is spiritual gift, if you don't put it to use, if you don't go out there preaching the word, and healing the sick and all that spiritual gifts that God has given you will be useless, so to speak. If you have the intellectual ability, the gifts of intellect and reasonable thinking, and the exceptional skills and abilities, you are gifted in wisdom, and you do not put your hands to work as many of the great inventors of life and history have done, you will not be able to come up with any invention of note. It is through working that you are able to activate that strength, that energy that is, able to produce results. Number two, work is bringing something to pass. So when we say you are working, it also means that there is a dream, there is an objective, there's a vision that is there until you begin to do something to bring it to pass. So a fantasy is a dream without labor. It is also a vision without a mission. A vision is a picture that you have of what you wish to be, what you wish to come to pass. You have a picture of tomorrow, what you expect to happen. And the mission is what you do to ensure that the vision comes to pass. You are on a mission to accomplish a goal, a mission to bring that vision into fruition. When God gives the potential for something, he also demands that it be worked out, So bringing something to pass is work. Every time that we are able to come up with, something, a product, a service that is able to benefit society, benefit ourselves, benefit our families, benefit our institutions, benefit the kingdom of God, then we'll say that work has been done. So the potential to possess what God has given is within you. but you will not obtain the promise until you put forth the effort to claim it. So if you need money to pay your bills, don't wait for someone to drop the dollars into your hand. Get up and take the job God sends. Every job, no matter how much you dislike it, is working for you. So if you are working as a cleaner, that is an opportunity for you to earn a living. And so it is by making sure that a place is not dirty, by making sure that you are able to keep the place in shape, in order, that you are bringing something into being. You are bringing um, 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 cleanliness into being. You are bringing to pass the hygienic environment that would not have been if you did not do the job of cleaning. So if you are not able to put in the work, then nothing will be done. Work brings potential to pass. Without work, all you have is potential. Number three, work is using your abilities and faculties to do or perform something. So the chapter talks about how God instructed Moses to gather offerings for the tabernacle and to employ skilled craftsmen to create its various parts. So when God was looking out for a temple to be built for him, he gave instructions on how it should be built, the materials that should be used, the dimensions, specific instructions on what should be done. So except you are able to use your abilities and the faculties, the abilities God has given you to do something, to perform something, then work is not done. So God has given you a wealth of skills, talents, and abilities. Work is the means to discovering those resources. We will not be able to know the value of this book, of a book, an exercise book, until we begin to put it to use, until we begin to write in it or use it for whatever other purpose that we can use it for. It is by using it that we understand the significance of the book. If it is just there and nothing is being done with it, then we may not be able to fully understand its essence. If you have the spectacle and you, you you don't use it for anything, it is just lying there, you will not be able to discover its potential in helping that when you are reading, you are able to read more clearly because it is medicated for that purpose. So persistent, consistent effort polishes the germs within you, making your life a suitable dwelling place for your holy God. It activates your potential and enables you to share your expertise and proficiency. The release of your gifts will benefit the world for your generation. And then finally, work is the means to produce a desired result. So work is also a process. It is a channel through which we are able to produce the final result. And so we see the account of Nehemiah coming in here. When the Israelites returned from exile in Babylon, Nehemiah, the governor of Jerusalem, led the people in repairing the walls of the city. So the rebuilding of the walls of Jerusalem, led by Nehemiah. And we talked about how there were a lot of opposition to the rebuilding work, but they persevered, they continued, because there was a desired outcome that they had in mind, and it is through work that they were able to produce that desired result. They worked with all their heart, as we mentioned earlier. And Nehemiah's response in Nehemiah 2, the verse 20. Nehemiah 2, verse 20. So 2 verse 20. So starting from 19, same Sanballat, when Sanballat the Horonite, Tobiah the Ammonite official, and Geshem the Arab heard about it, they mocked and ridiculed us. What is this you are doing? They asked, are you rebelling against the king? Then the 20 Nehemiah, I answered them by saying, the God of heaven will give us success. We his servants will start rebuilding. But as for you, you have no share in Jerusalem or any claim or historic right to it. So he says that the God of heaven will give us success. And he has an important thing, that we, his servants, will start rebuilding. So they started the rebuilding because they had this assurance that the God of heaven will give them success. You can have all the assurance that God will give you success, but if you do not start the work, if you don't put your hand to the plow, if you don't start the rebuilding process, it will not end in any desired result. He believed that the dream was from God and therefore trusted him for the attainment of his goal. His efforts were aided by those who worked with all their heart. Nehemiah 4:16, as we read earlier. Time and again, God frustrated the plots of those who would have threatened Nehemiah's dream, thus proving that he will fight for those who undertake to fulfill his purposes. Work, coupled with a mind to do what God desired, brought victory for the Israelites who were committed to the rebuilding of the wall of Jerusalem. If you are committed towards working for a desired result, you will be able to succeed. So, committed work towards a desired result is also a key to your success. So, if we are defining work, trying to understand work, one of the key things that we need to pick is that work is the means through which you will be able to get any desired results you so wish. And what are some of the potential benefits of work, adding to what we examined in the chapter 12? Number one is that when we work, when we put in the effort, when we are able to use whatever knowledge, abilities we have to do something, we are able to um, get other areas of our lives activated, other skills, other abilities that you didn't even know. You are able to unveil them. Work provides the means through which the knowledge you gain through the study of the other key areas of your life are activated. And work also gives flesh to faith. So when you go back to the Nehemiah chapter 2, the verse 20, the response of Nehemiah to the mockers, he says that the God of heaven will give us success. We will start rebuilding. So when you have faith in the dreams that God has given you and his assurances he has given you, it is work that will give flesh to that faith. God has given you many dreams. He's planted seeds in your imagination and supplied you with goals you would like to meet. Indeed, you may be pregnant with answers to some of the world's great problems. If you are going to realize those dreams, you better be ready to work. Until you start working, your power to benefit mankind will remain untapped. So if you do not work, faith without works is dead, the scripture says. If you do not get to work, if you don't put your hands to work in whatever shape or form, you will not be able to activate the reality of faith in your life. So you see Jesus walking, and someone is sick. They bring the lepers, they bring different kinds of issues to him, and he has this confidence in the power that his father has given him, and he sets out delivering the healing. And there were occasions where, so there was an occasion where he had to tell his disciples, after they struggled to heal, deliver a little boy from whatever spirit that was tormenting him, that this kind goes out except through prayer and fasting. There was an element of going the extra mile that his disciples had not taken advantage of. And he says that before you can achieve that kind of result, where as I came in and I cast out that devil and left, you will need to do something more. Until you start working, your power to benefit mankind will remain untapped. Until you begin to do this extra thing of fasting and praying, he says that you will not be able to cast out that kind of spirit. So a fantasy is a dream without work. If you do not put your hands to work, you will only dream of being the best manager in the country, but it will never be a reality. Except on corrupt grounds, you will never achieve that award or that recognition. It is for you to work hard, to do the things that others are not willing to do, to bend the night, to go the extra mile, working with your subordinates, doing things, putting in initiatives, getting the results. That is what will make you recognized as the best manager, the best farmer, or whoever it is. Work also provides the opportunities to fulfill purpose. There's a lot that we are supposed to do. There's a lot I'm supposed to do. There's a lot that you are supposed to do. Work is part of God's design for us to be able to fulfill our purpose. And Jesus said, I must work the works of the one who sent me, because a time is coming that I will not be able to do it. If I will fulfill my purpose for coming while it is day, I need to work the works of the one who sent me. Work is part of your design. If you are not working, you are not fulfilling your purpose. Most of the people who are burdens on society, those who are on welfare or receive some other social services, are not part of the workforce. The food stamps, the medical assistance, and rent assistance they receive come from the pockets of those who work. So they are a group of people, the aged people that, they may not be able to work. They are dependent on others. And so it is in your working that they are able to also get, something. In God's system, everyone needs to work. You need to work. Your ability to dominate and subdue the earth is related to the effort you put in to accomplish the task that God gives you. The effort that you put in, the efforts that you put in. If you want to see your seeds growing, if you want to see that plant growing, you need to water it. You need to make sure that the necessary ingredients that are needed for the seed to germinate and to grow, you need to put it in. The work, the effort of tilling the land, the effort of pruning the trees, the plants, to ensure that they have the needed environment that supports this growth. You need to put in that effort, because without labor, there is no fruit. Work also expands your resources. Work also expands your resources. The more effort you put into ensuring that the seed grows, to ensure that the plant grows, the more opportunities you have to get extra seeds from the fruits that are born out of that tree, out of that plant. Work is crucial to the care and manipulation of your resources. If you are faithful over little, God will make you ruler over much, but He can only give as much as you are willing to accept. So if you are faithful with the little things, if you are faithful in the little job role that you find yourself, and you give it your best, you open up yourself to the opportunity for promotion, the opportunity to get a better offer, the opportunity to be recognized and appreciated. All of these things expand your resources. When we talk about resources, resources are all the things that you need in order to be able to accomplish certain objectives. So the human resources, the capital resources, the social resources, the natural resources, whatever it is, work is the means through which God is able to multiply those resources. Your financial resources as well. And finally, work also releases and maintains your environment. So when you have people that you see as diligent, the scripture says that, have you seen a man who is diligent in his work? He will not serve before mere men, but he will serve before kings. So when you are a diligent person, when you work, when you put in the effort in the right ways, in the right manner, you expose yourself to the right kinds of environment. It releases and maintains your environment. We often say that birds of a feather flock together. Lazy people will struggle to be in the company of diligent people because they can't just stand how you are productive, how you are spending time reading, spending time learning, spending time cleaning, doing all the stuff that is needed in order to make your life more efficient. So the kinds of people that we will associate with and the kinds of people that would want to associate with us are dependent or is dependent on how we work. Work is the key to establishing a positive environment. Your devotion and persistence in accomplishing the task or job will attract the kind of company who would like to work. Even in some instances, the people that are lazy, the people that are idle, you would realize that when it comes to serious matters of life, they want to get close or talk to people that they know are diligent, because they realize that if they talk to their other colleagues who are lazy and not diligent, they will not be able to get the necessary help or support. So it tells you how important it is when it comes to work that you put in the right effort and you do your best. Your devotion to what you do is important. Just like Nehemiah and the people that he was building with, they worked with all their heart, and that is the reason why they were able to accomplish the task of rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem. So what are the final principles that we can take? So the key principles from the chapter: number one, the achievement of greatness requires work. Labor delivers your potential. Number two. Number three, work is activated strength and energy. The effort required to bring something to pass. The use of your abilities and faculties to do or perform something, and the means to produce a desired result. So we see four key definitions for work. Number one, activated strength and energy. Number two, the effort required to bring something to pass. Number three, the use of your abilities and faculties, your talents, your skills to do or perform something. And number four, the means to produce a desired result. The fourth principle: faith without work is unproductive. Faith without work is dead. Number five, God designed you to fulfill your purpose by working. Number six, work multiplies your resources, your financial resources, your spiritual resources, your material resources, whatever kinds of resources. Work multiplies your resources, be they large or small. Number seven, idleness, laziness invites the company of lazy people. And number eight, the release of your potential is dependent upon your expenditure of the necessary effort to change your thoughts into visible realities. It is not enough thinking about it, imagining it, having a vision of what you want and all that. Um, the lessons we learned in the first book, Understanding Potential, we got to understand and realize that when God talks about doing things, he not only speaks, he takes the action. So when God says let there be, he takes the actions that are necessary to ensure that the words spoken do not return to him void. So the release of your potential will be dependent on the number and the amount of effort that you put in to ensure that the things that you want to do are not only thoughts in your head, but they become visible realities, actions that will speak because you are ready to put in the effort and put in the necessary um, 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 actions that will result in the kind of outcome that we want. So this chapter helps us, and I believe that the little things that we have picked in will go a long way to ensure that we become more diligent. We become people that are open to the idea of working, putting in the energy, putting in the effort, making sure that our skills, our abilities, our faculties, intellectual faculties are used to get some results that are relevant and that are needed for our personal, success and the development of our society as well as others. God has been working and is still working. And if we are called according to his name, then we must also be seen working and continue to be productive as individuals. Thank you so much for joining today's reflection. I believe you have found it to be useful, and I hope to see you in the next episode. Thank you. Stay safe and always be a blessing. Bye bye.